Are you ready to get your health back but feel overwhelmed by the endless healthcare options? We believe God has called each of us to a specific assignment, and we want to make sure your body, mind, and heart are up for the task. It's time to simplify the process of healing. At Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer simple, effective, easy ways to prioritize your health and gain understanding. No prescription pad needed. I'm Kari, a pharmacist turned integrative health practitioner. I'm so excited to have these conversations around topics with my friend, Jenn.
Hi there, I'm Jenn, and together with our team at Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer an alternative to traditional healthcare, combining our expertise and experience in the medical field with our knowledge and faith to break the cycles of guessing what's wrong. We know the road to healing, feeling good again, can be overwhelming. You can expect honest conversations around the ups and downs of healing. The truth is, there are so many layers to healing. Because we've taken the time to learn where true healing comes from, we've learned how to help other women discover a different way of caring for themselves. Join us every week for new episodes as we discuss topics that are personal and pertinent to your healing journey. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. We are doing our series on a little bit about what we do in our practice and what makes us different from some of the practice out there. We're excited. Today, we are going to be talking about just rest and doing less. Ironically, if you're listening to the podcast and it's the week of October 7th, hop into our free challenge. It's all about breaking free for overwhelm. So that challenge started today, Monday. If you're listening to the podcast on the day that it's released, we would love to have you. We're so excited. I think there's a lot to learn in the challenge and things that just Kari and I have really done in our lives to embrace rest, to embrace doing less. As most of you know, Kari is from the South, so they move real slow down there.
I like it.
I like it too. I've come to embrace the Southern way. And, we talk, a lot about how important it is for our health and our healing, to really slow down. And I think for women, I know we've talked about this before, it's hard because we think there's so much to do, which there is. I don't want to take that away. We do have a lot to do, right? We were just talking about how busy we are. However, I think we can do less than we think we need to. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of element of control that goes into why we feel like we have to do all these things because we can do them better and we know how to do them. And, if it doesn't,
that's me.
I mean, it's true, right? I mean, I think we kind of all have that bend, like, I know how to do it best. But is that really serving us?
No.
Probably not. So sometimes, just done is better. And maybe it just doesn't even need to get done, right? There's just so many things that maybe we've done for so many years and it's just a habit at this point. So there's a lot of different reasons why I think we feel like we just have to keep going.
Sure. I mean, I came home, we were into Utah last week, and my youngest Jack had been packing his lunch all week because Chris wasn't going to pack it. So of course Jack was packing it. He would pack it. I shouldn't say that. Anyway, so I come home and, Chris is like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm packing his lunch. He's like, let him do it. And I was like, I'll do it. Because
no, really, that was just a little tap on your shoulder to be like, nope.
Right? Like, duh. After I was thinking
funny.
about that. But it was the control, right? I wanted him to eat what I wanted him to eat, what I think he should be eating. And he's a good eater anyway. So anyway, just a real quick example of things we can let go of.
I know. And we wonder why we're so tired and irritable and just all the things, right? We kind of do it to ourselves.
Yes. Yes. So, one of the things we really want to, encourage you. And as I took a month off last year in December, I really was enlightened to, and really had eyes to see how little I needed to do versus what I really wanted to do. And so we just want to encourage you, like, look at your schedule. Like, what can you simplify? What can you drop? What can you get rid of? Like, I know I can get rid of packing Jack's lunch, right? It's the simple things that I think, that take multiple steps that, Kari's really good at making simple meals, and eating leftovers. Like that's something that I think most of us were so worried about making healthy meals and they need to be elaborate. They don't. They really don't.
They really don't.
I mean, Kari, what?
Nothing. I'm just laughing like my family. I mean, I just always have the thought of, okay, well, if we're not eating out, this is better than that, And also, I just don't feel the need to fix, a bunch of new things for my kids to try. This age, especially that they're at, we're busy. They're just not into trying a whole lot of new things. I mean, they're older. They're like, 12 and 9, but I just do what works and it's good, nutritious food. And yeah, I'm happy with that. Yeah. I don't really, maybe in another season of my life, I'll like to try new recipes and really be in the kitchen, like experimenting a lot more. But for now, this is good for me and my family. So I think you have to take into account that as well.
Yeah. And streamlining things, right? Streamlining grocery shopping, doing pickup.
Yes. I mean, I keep asking Jenn, like, why are you still going to the grocery store again? Like, they have click lists for almost everywhere. So
I enjoy grocery shopping. So part of it is I enjoy it.
I do too. But
you're right. I don't have the time. I got to tell the story though so Kari was sharing her location with me when she was on, when she was on the hike. And of course, we I don't know, for some reason we were still sharing. So one night I go to Costco after I had already picked up an order, and Kari texts me and I was like, girl, why are you at Costco? I was like, dang it.
That was funny. We had just talked about how she could do Walmart pickup or some kind of pickup. And she was like, yeah, I'm doing that. I'm going to do that. And then she followed through with it. So I'm like, good. She doesn't have to go to the grocery store. And then she just slipped right off to Costco,
Yeah, just happened. That was a problem. Anyway, so less pickups is, less places to run has really been something big for me. And delegating, as Kari talked about, sometimes we feel the need to control and to do it ourselves because we'll just do it better. And I feel like I'm losing that grip, which is fantastic, on just needing to do everything. So I'm delegating, I'm saying no more. Which is really hard for me. So yeah, I just think even staying off social media, we're doing this challenge with some of my friends. It's 75 hard for God. And I really dug into it. It was something, basically to give up. And I was thinking, okay, well, I love my King coffee in the morning. So I'm going to, give up my King coffee. And God was like, dig deeper, And so I was like, okay, what can I give up? And it was being distracted. And so social media was the first thing that went. And by the way, do you know how hard it is to get on social media and to post and not scroll? Like literally, I find myself scrolling like, oh my gosh, I have to get off. I don't even know I'm doing it. I just went on to post. Anyway, side note.
Truly.
And then one of the other things that I wanted to talk about, which I think is super important, is journaling. Because in that downtime, so in that December that I took off last year, that was 2023, right?
23. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I literally sat on the couch and prayed and journaled for most of the day. And there was so much in the journaling that God just healed my heart. He spoke to me. He gave me answers to things that I had been praying for. He gave me clarity on things. And I don't think that we spend enough time just sitting still to be able to do that sometimes.
No.
And
I mean, Jenn's talking about how she took a whole month off and you're probably like, well, I can't do that. However, that's kind of the challenge is that we have to, step back and take a good look at what do we need to drop? What do we need to simplify? What can we do differently so that we do have the margin and the time in the brain space? I think a lot of it is about the brain space, honestly, to just I mean, sometimes we can just drop things, but other times we can't. And so we need to try to figure out if we can delegate it, how we can do it differently so that it's off our brain and not constantly just circulating. That is what a lot of this challenge is kind of about, is like, how can we, because we can't all just drop our responsibilities. Like we still have to cook and, take care of a family and have a job and all those things. But how can we just do it a little bit better so that we can have that margin to hear from the Lord and really do more of what he wants us to do and less of what we maybe think we need to do or even want to do.
Yeah, truly. And it might look good. Like you're called, God has called you to do these things, but is it what God is calling to right into this moment?
Yeah.
So even though it looks good and maybe something that we should be doing as a believer, but is it what God is calling to you right at this minute? And just to back up 1 second about Kari, said a lot of it is in just our thoughts, in our mind racing. And what I found was that a lot of what I was doing was before the opinion of others, right?
Yeah.
So that I could, quote unquote, keep up or, just how things looked. And I really had to reevaluate a lot of that stuff and do away with it because it doesn't matter in the long run.
Man, how freeing would that be? I know it's not as sometimes, some people care more about what other people think than the next person. But I think at some level we do all kind of care, how things look. And that's not where we need to be focused,
No,
and so
things, things will get done. I mean, like the yard being weeded. I was like, well, you want to have a presentable yard and you want your weeds pulled. And I literally just like, God, give me the margin. It's like simple things like that. That I think sometimes are just on our mind that we need to get done.
Yeah.
Where if we just let it go and pray about it and God say, God put this somehow in my schedule if it needs to get done. And it always does.
Right. That takes a lot of trust. It takes laying down what we want and focusing on what he wants. And that's not always easy,
No, it's minute by minute sometimes.
Right. Right. But that's how we should live. We should live day to day. We should live in the present moment. But so many of us live, I would say mostly in the future, sometimes in the past, right? We kind of just hang on to what was, but I'm definitely more of a futuristic person. So it has been a huge feat for me. It has taken years, honestly, to force me almost to live in the present day. And when I find myself floating to the future, I just have to give it to the Lord. It's just constant, right? We all have our bend.
Sure. Yeah. No,
that's not probably going to go away either.
No, I think we all do that. Just like we all have our bends in, time or what we should be doing and priorities. And that sort of leads me to, if you are giving your day to the Lord, like, they talk a lot about this and She Works It His Way. And basically, what they talk about is it's not about balance. The world tells us balance, right? Mm-hmm. Balance. Everything should be, balanced, but it's about priorities.
Yeah.
What's first? God. What's second? Family. And third, fourth, and fifth, like in that order.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes when I find myself getting busy, I just take a step back and, okay, what is God calling me to in this moment? Okay, great. Is my family taken care of? Am I doing the things I need to do to serve my family? Right.
Yeah.
And then work. And then, everything else falls into place. And I love that from She Works His Way because there's so much out there that says we should focus on us and, boundaries for us. What is the Lord really calling you to do? And I think if we do the things that we've talked about, like, prayer, your morning walk, taking a Sabbath or taking a day off, taking that midday break, those are key to really tuning back into the Lord, to making sure that you're basically on His time, right? On His pace.
Yeah. And it's like some days we're going to do really good. And other days we're literally just going to get off track, even though we have the best of intentions. So that's why I really do like the daily check-in and doing this examine of like, okay, where are we at? Where are we with the Lord? Like, what did we get off track on today? And recalibrating almost to then move into the next day differently.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll talk about that just a little bit
Yeah.
because we're going to put a YouTube video up on the Examine. This was something that if I don't know if many of you are familiar with, but the Examine is something that Saint Ignatius came up with to really tune into how the Spirit is moving in you and your awareness of the movements of the good spirit and, of the enemy. And so it's really just a way to form gratitude. So one of the first steps is gratitude. Thanking God for what he has given you and done. Because when you write it down or when you think about it in your mind, you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go over my day and I was like, he has been so present and so faithful and so giving.
Yeah. Truly.
And, if I didn't do the Examine, I would miss it. Right. So anyway, the first is gratitude. The second is petition. So petition is just asking God for, your desires, what's on your heart. What do you want to be better at? Offering up, just everything that's on your heart.
Yeah.
And then discerning. Discern is the third step, and that's movements. Where were you moving with God throughout the day, and where were you moving away from God's love throughout the day? So, not being in step with the Spirit versus being in step with the Spirit. Usually what I find is that when things come easy, when I feel like I have a tailwind, that's when I'm walking with the Spirit. And then when I'm getting frustrated or things are hard or they're not going my way, that's usually because I'm doing my will and not God's will.
Yeah.
So, and then third is forgiveness. So where was sin present that day? And this is not to condemn you, but really to just share with your Father, a loving God who wants to help you, right? Like ask the Father, like, Lord, where is my bend in this? How can I be more aware of it? How can I be more present with it?
Yeah.
How can I repent? Just going over the day where you need to be forgiven. And then the last step, the fifth step, is resolution. So what do you resolute to do differently? Where the Lord is calling you, where you need help, that you want to be reminded of each day to avoid those bends or to lean more into gratitude, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. So we're going to have a whole separate video on that, like a little bit more detail on that. So yeah, we'll link that below and check that out if that's something you want to kind of start integrating into usually people do it at night, but if you're like us, sometimes it's like we're done at the end of the day. So it's okay to do it in the morning too, of course, about the previous day.
Yeah. Yeah. I do often do that. I will most often do it in the morning for the previous day, just because it works better for me. Cause I'm tired at night and I just don't,
Yeah.
But, we'll link to in the show notes, if you'd like an Examine journal, the prodigalfather.org, has journals that are already written up with those prompts, and it describes in depth. It's just a nice journal and it has some Bible verses in there. So we'll link that in the show notes too.
Yeah. And, just kind of wrapping this conversation up, I think that the world sometimes gets things close to being right, but there's just always a little twist to it. And, the world's answer to resting and doing less is like self-care, and you need to pour into yourself, and, you need to do all these things for yourself. And again, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. However, we're asking you to really look at the things that you're doing and how can you put more margin in your day to sit with the Lord, ask him what he wants you to do so that you can pour out to others. That's our whole mission and goal, right? As Christians. Yep. And so this 100% affects your physical health. That's why we're talking about it as well, right? But ultimately it affects your ministry, as does, the fact that you probably feel tired and overwhelmed and burnt out. So it all kind of is either working for your ministry or maybe against it. And so that's kind of what we are asking you to take some time and lead into. And that's really the whole purpose behind this challenge, is so that we can, throw off what hinders, right? We talked about that in a previous episode. That is our goal here. So we hope that you join us in that challenge if you're listening currently, on the day that this releases. But we do have some future challenges that we're excited about as well, if you missed this one, if you're listening to it a little bit late. But Thank you for joining us on this episode. We're going to continue this series next, just talking about some really practical tools for stress management and emotional healing. So join us for the next episode on that. We'll see you there.
If this episode has served you in any way, drop a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd love it if you'd share any aha moments or takeaways on Instagram and tag us at Cornerstone Integrative Healing.
And if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do so. We want to continue to walk this journey with you. Until next time, friends, know that we're praying for you.